Hey, you beautiful being. Welcome to Empowered Human. I am your host, Nina Garcia. And if this is your first time here, you might want to know we do like to play with transforming hard conversations into teachable moments. So, if growth oriented is not one of your personality quirks, if it's not something you value on your individual culture island, you may not like this podcast. And that's okay. There are plenty out there for you. However, go ahead and keep on listening in if you are saying, no, you know what, Nina? I want to lean in. I'm growth oriented. What's the topic for today? Well, thank you so much for asking. Here we go. The topic of today, I've gotten this question so often that I was like, we got to do an episode on it. All of this episode is going to address the question, how can I be more authentic? A lot of people are talking about authenticity. It's a thing, right? If you don't know what it means, I am going to tell you what our definition of authenticity is in this episode. And we are going to dive in not every facet, but in a few different facets so that you can really explore how you can start showing up as a more authentic version of yourself. Yes. So in a nutshell, if I were to give you the answer to this question, it would be this. How can I be more authentic is the question. The answer is you develop a practice of authenticity. It starts with the courage to be transparent, period. So if you are interested in now learning more about authenticity as a practice or the courage to be transparent, keep on listening in. Grab a journal or a really good friend to dialogue with about what comes up for you in this episode. Because of course, you know at this point, I am so curious. Are you ready to play? Welcome to Empowered Human, the dramatically playful podcast that invites you to heal humanity, the one within you, me, and the world at large. I'm your host, drama therapist, empowerment specialist, and not to mention empowered human, Nina Garcia, and I'm so stoked you're joining me on the journey. Every Wednesday, you are invited to explore transforming from powered to empowered with genuinely human stories of courageous existence, healing from invalidation, and truly belonging to you. So wherever you are on the spectrum, from empowerment curious to empowered human ambassador, this podcast is designed to humanize. Get ready to lean into your edge, heal your worldview, and finally belong to you. This is Empowered Human. Let's go ahead and take a breath on in. As we get ready to do that work, exhale it out, ground yourself. Make sure that your journal is right on around you and that you are ready to work. Okay, let's do it. So we're leaning into authenticity today. We're gonna be talking about the courage to be transparent. And so first off, foremost, I want y'all to consider, what does it mean to even be in alignment, okay? When we talk about being authentic as an empowered individual, one of the things that we consider a really important facet is whether you are in alignment or not. And so the way that we look at alignment is with thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Write that down because that's going to be your first nugget. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, when they are mostly aligned, they all support one another. If they're partially aligned, maybe two of them support one another. And if they are misaligned or least aligned, right, I guess least aligned, technically speaking, is going to be that they do not support each other. There's three different thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that don't support each other. Misaligned would probably be actually thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that actually work together against your best interest, right? Like that's a misalignment there. So we're going to be focusing on how can we actually get you this tool so that you can look at your own life and say, oh my goodness, glaciers, Nina, I am mostly aligned, I'm partially aligned, I'm least aligned, or I am misaligned. How can we actually help you figure that out in your own life and move forward? So now that you know what alignment is, I hope you wrote that down. When you are most aligned, it's like, the stars have opened, right? The heavens have opened, the stars have aligned, right? And you are in this, the way that I described it, sort of like a green zone. You get to be in this green zone. It's a state of flow. Mostly aligned individuals are the people who we look at and we say, oh my gosh, I don't know how they do it. Or, oh my gosh, they just look so happy right now. Here's the thing, it's not just a surface level, mostly alignment, right? People who are mostly aligned also internally feel that way, right? So this shouldn't just be on the surface, we appear aligned. This is an intrinsic, inherent to our person in this moment. We are feeling that most alignment. And so, what this looks like is as follows. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you have an individual and they come to you and they say, you know what? I am just really thinking, there's your first thought, thinking that I would like to move my body with joy 5 days a week. I mean, 5 days a week. I think I can do it. I want to move more. That's what I'm thinking. I want to move my body 5 days a week with joy. I think I can do it. And then you ask them, because you know that thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are so important. You say, okay, well, how do you feel about that? And they come to you and they say, I'm feeling jazzed. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling like I got a little energy rush here. I'm feeling like my feelings support my thought. Would you agree? Yes. If we're feeling jazzed, we're feeling excited, it definitely supports the idea that we want to get out and move our bodies with some joy 5 days a week. Yes. Then you move on to behaviors, because of course, you know, behaviors is important. You say, well, what are you doing then about that? And they say, oh, don't you worry. I've got my calendar set up. I've got it booked in at just the right time, because I know that I'm not an evening person. I like to crash at 7. I'm going to be waking up at 5 in the morning, and I am going to be out there moving my body with joy, because that's my hour. And you're like, oh, okay. So you've got it there. How often have you done it? Well, you know what? I'm only 3 days in this week and I've done it 3 times so far, 3 times so far, and I'm planning on 2 more. I'm feeling good. I've got this. Is this person mostly aligned? Do they have a thought and a feeling and a behavior that supports each other when it comes to this moment? Hopefully your answer is, why, yes, Nina, they do, right? This is a person who now says, I am in alignment. And you know what? When we're in alignment, we feel like we are authentically being ourselves. This is what is authentic, right, to us, because our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all aligned on our individual culture island. If you don't know what that is, you'll have to DM me, right? Hopefully it mostly makes sense. That's a green zone feeling. Of course you want that, right? Of course you want that feeling where you are mostly aligned. So you can say, yeah, I do show up as I intend. I do show up in a way that is value driven to me. And I feel really good about that. That is you being authentic. It's not always flashy. It's not always showy. It's not always something that needs to be shared with someone else. But it is something that says, this is really me. I'm showing up as I am able to and as I want to, right? In my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Now, with something as, I don't want to say simple or easy as getting to work out 5 days a week, right? But that's a relatively innocuous example, right? It's not an intense example. It's not heavily emotionally laden, at least the one I just gave you, right? But let's imagine, because we don't live in a perfect, harmless world, let's imagine that you're a human being now who says, you know what, I went to the doctor recently and the doctor said, my weight's an issue. And then you, of course, thinking love and bodies at every size, you say, well, what do you mean your weight's an issue? And they say, well, it turns out that, I gained a little pre-pandemic weight. I gained a little pandemic weight. This is a real thing that people are talking about out there, right? And here is how I know that it might be an issue. It's putting so much pressure on certain joints that it behooves me to say, I need to move my body more than I was doing. I don't need to diet. I don't need to exercise heavily. I just got to move my body more, with joy, so that I can maybe get my body back to regulate at a weight that is normal and healthy for it, and hopefully alleviate some of that pain in my joints. And you go, okay. Sounds like you've really thought this through. So what's your thought? Now this person says, well, I'm thinking I want to move my body for 5 days a week. I think that's a good goal to set. The doctor said like 2 hours a week, but I think like if I could just do it just 15, 20 minutes, 5 days a week, I think that I'd be golden. I think that that would be really good. You say, okay, well, how are you feeling about it? Well, I'm feeling I'm feeling like, I haven't really done much for the last 3 years and I'm feeling a little nervous about it. I don't know if it's realistic. I don't know if I'm going to like it. Like the weather, what if the weather's not good? So I'm feeling a little nervous about it, but they gave me this app. And so I'm feeling a little hopeful too. Like maybe if I just follow the app, then maybe it'll become a habit, So I've got some mixed feelings about this. And then you say, okay, well, what are you doing behaviorally? What are you going to do about that? And that person says, well, behaviorally, I think that I want to use the app. I downloaded it on my phone and I'm supposed to start tomorrow, but I'm gearing myself up. I'm telling you about it. I'm telling other people about it because, I want to be able to do this for me. I want to feel okay in my body. I want to feel like I'm doing what I need that's going to be best for me. And I think this is that next move for me. And then you, having asked them all these questions, can see, okay, this person does sound like they are at least partially aligned. They have some discomforting, uncomfortable feelings that may fuel them toward this or that may pull them back, right? Behaviorally, they did download the app, but they haven't started using it yet, but they are gearing up for a network, right? So at the very least, this person is partially aligned. They are trying to figure out how to feel most authentic to themselves in this moment. They're not quite there yet, right? They're not quite there yet. So this is that difference we think about: mostly aligned, partially aligned. Yes. How authentic can you really feel when you're trying to do these things? And so this is just some examples, right? For you to be able to explore authenticity as a practice, being able to say, I'm going to be honest with where I'm at in my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Okay. So that's the first bit there. Being able to say, I'm going to have the courage to be transparent about those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So many of us are going to get caught up in the idea of what it is to be authentic, and the idea of what it is to be aligned. And it is so easy to take on somebody else's idea of authenticity. I don't want you to be a carbon copy of someone else. I don't need you to be the same as everyone else, right? My invitation in helping you, for those of you who have asked me, how can I be more authentic? My invitation to you is genuinely to consider, can you begin to courageously just be transparent about your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors? Can you begin to own them and then start to get them closer to mostly aligned? Now, I just gave you 2 examples of mostly aligned. I gave you a partially aligned example, right? And I want you to chew on these examples, right? We're in the storytelling chew on phase of this episode. We're about to get into the learn this part where I apply it to you and give you an adventure challenge. But for those of you who are out there like, okay, well, what's a least aligned person, right? The least aligned person is a quick example here, but using the same example, a least aligned individual is going to come to you and say, I went to the doctor this week. And you're going to say, oh my gosh, what did you go to the doctor for? And they're going to turn to you and they're going to say, I went to the doctor and the doctor said, hey, you need to lose weight. And I was like, I don't really think I need to lose weight. And you're like, oh, okay, well, if you don't feel like you need to lose weight, then you need to lose weight. And they're like, well, I mean, they said that, it's putting a lot of extra pressure on my joints, that, I've got like a little bit of a muscle laxness. And so it might be actually pushing a joint out of place. I mean, it apparently the weight is causing a bit of an issue that it didn't cause, prior to the pandemic. I sat around a lot. I didn't do as much. I wasn't as active. And so, my activity levels changed. And so my body changed too, but the doctor says that I should do it. And so, I guess I should. Already, are you hearing that thought is not even necessarily really something that person is owning? Already, the thought is not aligned necessarily with this individual yet. It may be, it may not be in the future, but at this point, in this moment, and I do want you to stay in your present moment too when you do this with yourself, it's not even aligned with this individual yet. But then you move on to feelings because you're working on your own alignment skills and it's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And you say, okay, well, it doesn't even sound like it's your thoughts. It sounds like it's what the doctor wants you to do. I mean, how do you feel about that? And they turn to you and they say, well, I'm feeling kind of, like blasé about it. Like, I thought that I'd be apprehensive or like anxious about it, but I just sort of feel like, man, you got to do what you got to do. Like, I guess, that's what the doctor says. And you're like, oh, okay. Okay. Sounds like you feel like not really motivated by it. And they're like, yeah, I don't really feel very, very motivated by it, but I feel like I'm obligated to do it. I feel obligated. Yeah, I think that's probably it. Do we see how that feeling does not really support the thought that wasn't even their thought to begin with? Okay. We're moving toward least alignment here. And this is why. The third thing that you ask them, because you know behaviors is the third and final piece here. We say, hey, well, what are you doing behaviorally? I mean, if the doctor thinks you should do it and you feel obligated, I mean, what are you doing with that? Oh, I downloaded the Couch to 5K app, and I think I'm just going to start there and it'll be, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yeah. So I downloaded it, I'm just going to, I'll start tomorrow. It'll be good. Maybe I should get somebody with, I don't know, but it'll be good. It'll be fine. I got the app. Okay. So behaviorally, that matches what the doctor wants. They do feel obligated. They've now obligatedly, right, downloaded this app to help them move toward this idea. Do we see how this is least aligned for this individual? Because it is not their story and it is not supporting each other, right? These different pieces in a way that moves this person forward in a vibrant way, right? This is a least aligned narrative. Now, the way that we would go even further than that if you're misaligned is, right, it's not your thought, you feel obligated to do it, and then behaviorally it's like you say, so they told me to do it and I felt obligated to do it, and so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to download app. I'm not going to do anything. In fact, I'm going to go out and I'm going to eat more. I'm going to sit around more. I mean, it's like, what, they think they own my body? This is like so misaligned, right? This is so misaligned. And here's the thing, like, power to you. I don't know the context of your situation or your world, you beautiful being. But if there is dysfunction happening for you, if there's some kind of harm happening for you, right? If something is not working for you and it is not bringing you vibrant joy in your own way, shape, and form for this. And in fact, in the example I just gave, if it is actually all lined up to pull you back into a worse direction, right? Given this example, there's some sort of harm going on with the joints, right? If you do make it worse, that's misaligned. You have a bunch of stuff that is actually aligned in the opposite direction to help you. That's a misalignment. So I give you these examples, and I hope that, as we move now into this, learn this, right, phrase and chew on this and do your own personal work with this. What is coming up for you? Genuinely check in with me here, right? What is coming up for you around your own alignment, around your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors? Authenticity as a practice is what I am inviting you into. And it does involve, again, the courage to be transparent at the outset. So I am going to give you a little work through here. If you have your journal, now is going to be an extra good time to grab it, because I actually want to invite you to write this down. If you don't have a journal, you can go ahead and just think through it with me and pause the episode as you need. But because this is Empowered Human, we're talking about alignment here, we're talking about authenticity. Let me give you a quick rundown on the difference between a powered way of viewing this and an empowered way of viewing this. Powered ways of viewing authenticity and alignment, right, is to say that there is only one way of being authentic, and then there's the other way, which is not authentic. And so if you can't be like us and fit in with us, then you don't belong, which must mean you just don't belong. That is such a powered binary way of viewing authenticity, right? It is definitely centered in somebody else, not in you. And so you're constantly trying to fit in instead of genuinely saying, no, I belong to me. And I'm searching for those people, right? Or trying to connect with those people who also know they belong to themselves, and this, we can belong together. So powered world, very binary thinking on it. Empowered, multiple truths, you beautiful being, right? There's multiple truths present. So of course, I gave you one example. Mold it, make it what it needs to be in order for you to be able to move forward. So empowered, because it deals with multiple truths, and that's what we're thinking when it comes to this authenticity. I am going to walk you through Pamela Hayes' addressing framework. I want you to actually utilize each question I'm about to ask you, and I want you to just note, do I feel aligned in this area? Do I not feel aligned in this area? Another way of exploring that, do I feel authentic in this area, or do I not feel authentic in this area, right? Again, what is authenticity? Green zone, state of flow, everything's aligned, it's flows, right? So as I go through this, really asking yourself, do I feel aligned with this? First one, addressing is, by the way, an acronym, okay? It's not all the parts of how you exist as a human being, but I love it as a tool because it really helps us explore empowered dynamics. So let's lean in. A is for age, okay? Age. Do I feel authentically like my own age here? Do I feel like I'm trying to be older or even younger than my age? Do I feel authentic to my age? Now, Mind you out there, this doesn't mean like if I'm, I don't know, 37, I'm not 37, but I'm going to throw a number out there. If I'm 37, it doesn't mean that I'm like, okay, well, how do other 37-year-olds act? It means, do you feel like you are your best version of 37? If you're like, age is not a number, great. Do you feel like your best version of the age in which you are? It doesn't actually matter how you number that age. It is your internal experience of, do you feel green zone? Do you feel in a state of flow? So age is one. We're going to move a little bit quicker now here, right? Again, do you feel aligned? Do you feel authentic? D, diagnosis or disability, whether it was from birth or acquired later in life. Do you feel authentic in these areas? Do you feel aligned? R, religion or spirituality. Do you feel aligned? Do you feel authentic? Or is this an area for growth? E, ethnicity and race, okay? Do you feel aligned, authentic, or is this an area for growth? S and S, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation. I, indigenous facet. N, nationality. G, gender, gender expression. All of these are pretty basic initial ways of you being able to explore how beautifully diverse you are and how empowered we can get you as a human being to recognize there are so many facets to who you are. And so when you ask me, full circle back to the beginning of this episode, Nina, how can I be more authentic? How can I show up more as my authentic self? I want you to question these parts and facets of who you are as a human being. I want you to know, where do you feel aligned and authentic, and where is that maybe an area for growth? And I'm not going to tell you how to pursue that growth, but in this episode, I am going to invite you to explore, if you want to feel aligned and authentic, we've got to do that work. We've got to question those parts of ourselves, even if nobody's ever asked us to question them. Do it once. And if nothing ever comes of it, then great. You did it, you practiced the skill, or you used the skill, and maybe you don't need it in that identity facet. But might you need it in another? Stay tuned, huh? Stay tuned. Okay. So I know we just did some work there. We have had the question. I've given you the short answer. We have done the walkthrough of the much longer answer for alignment and authenticity. You now know that it's about thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And it really does take the courage to be transparent with yourself first. You ain't got to tell everybody else your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, but you know what? You want to be an empowered human who's showing up in an authentic and aligned way. You have to know and be honest with yourself about what your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are. Okay, you picking up what I'm putting down? I hope you are. Okay. We're going to move into the last bit of this episode. It is your adventure challenge time. I love a good adventure challenge. It is what I am inviting you to lean into between this episode and the next episode in this upcoming week. Of course, this whole episode is about your authenticity. How can you be more authentic? Really, how can you align more? Get your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in alignment. So here's how we're going to do that. Step one, with your courage to be transparent. Okay, step one is you got to ask yourself, in what areas do you feel aligned? In what areas do you not feel aligned? Okay, that's the very first thing. That's it. All of the roles, identities that we went down in the addressing framework, and there are so many more that are true to you. In what areas do you say, you know what? I don't feel mostly aligned there. I don't feel totally authentic there. I don't feel like my most vibrant green zone self. Fantastic. Let's just acknowledge it. Let's just be real about it, right? Even an uncomfortable truth, still a truth, okay? So let's be honest about it. We've got that there. That's the first step. If you say, Nina, that's enough for me for now, I've done the work, then fantastic. If you like a little bit more challenge, you might want to lean in more. You say, okay, now I know that these are the roles or identities and places, right, that I may not feel totally authentic. I say, fantastic. Second step, now that you've identified the roles and identities and even potential areas, right, the different settings in which you may not feel aligned or authentic, can you tell us if it's mostly, it wouldn't be mostly if you didn't feel there, right? Can you tell us if it is partially aligned, least aligned, or misaligned? In the roles and identities, the areas that you have chosen where you said, Nina, this was an area for growth, that second question is asking very simply, can you tell me now which ones are partially aligned, which ones are least aligned, and which ones are misaligned. From here, if that's enough for you, say, oh my gosh, now it's just enough for me to know these are my areas for growth, and these are the ones that I really need to work on because they're misaligned. These are the ones that I, next need to work on because they're least aligned. And these are the ones that, actually, maybe I really need to win. Maybe I really need to start focusing on my partial alignment so I can get them closer to most aligned, right? You get to decide what your game plan is once you have that. You can see it on paper. It doesn't have to be a mystery anymore. And that's just step 2, right? If you were like, Nina, give me more, I want more. Okay, final one here. Step 3, write that next level up. Whichever identity or role that you have chosen, just choose one for an idea now, right? Just choose one. Whichever area for growth that is, as you move forward into this next level 3, final question here, can you write out the thought, feeling, and behavior specifically that is presently present, right, with that role or identity or setting? Can you write out what the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are, right? It's usually just try to stick with one is my invitation, so that you can actually decide and see right in front of you, no mystery, what it is that is even possible to be changed. You are so capable of this. If you need support, reach out to a friend, reach out to a teacher, reach out to a mentor, a family member, a therapist, a counselor, whoever it is that can just help you say, I see you. I want to validate your truths. I see your courage to be transparent. I want to help you be more authentic and more aligned too. Here's what I'm noticing, right? Here's what I can help you with. Here's what I can hear and validate back. Whatever it is that you are bringing to the table, just make sure that this is a person who you feel safe with, right? Not everybody wants to hear about our stuff and our work, and not everyone, even if they love us, not everyone has capacity for it. So let's just be honest about that up front, right? You are so capable of this. And so for all of you out there saying, I'm willing to do the work to show up as a more authentic and aligned individual, my hat is off to you. My heart is with you. Thank you so much for being willing to do the work throughout this episode with me. I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for being willing to explore healing your humanity on Empowered Human. I hope you found at least one new way to transform your worldview from powered to empowered. If you took something from the show, please take a moment of your time and subscribe to Empowered Human. And if it really nourished you, leave us a review. Your feedback helps me understand what our community needs. Not to mention, it helps others discover the empowered human life. So keep this last bit in mind. All the visual goodies come with me on Instagram at Drama Therapist Nina. Stay up to date there on upcoming episodes, behind the scenes goodness, and reels dropping knowledge. Thank you again for being part of the empowered human community. Until next time, stay curious.